So we'll start chatting a little bit. Brett, tell me what are you doing for Thanksgiving this year under these circumstances?
Oh, it's going to be a little bit more intimate, but we're still cooking and we're staying at home. We're
Yeah.
staying home, and we got my wife's sister is coming over, so it's going to be a pretty small gathering. But we're heeding the advice of everyone to do more of a virtual turkey.
Awesome. Yeah, same here.
Someone told me that they were having families all separately bake things, and then they'll swap it, and then they go back home and they eat on Zoom. But everybody gets a chance to at least taste what everyone's cooked. So if you have a family, do your like rotating potluck. Somebody has to go around and swap all the dishes, but at least you don't have to, you're able to eat what people make for you.
Yeah, which is a big part of it. That's creative. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm really sad about it, but my dad is 89. And so, we've all just decided it's not the right thing to do to get together. So
it's hard.
We still have a little creative thinking to do to figure out how we're going to at least, virtually see each other and talk and catch up.
Technology to keep us connected, though.
That's right.
Without this, can you imagine going through all of this 20 years ago?
Oh, no.
Not at all.
Okay, well, guys, welcome. Thank you for joining us for our Casual Friday. We do this about twice a month. This is our last one for the year, though, so we made it a big one. And so we're excited to have you guys here with us today. And if you're new to the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, we offer free advising and mentorship for entrepreneurs in the area and small business owners through every stage of your business, from business planning, startup, growth, scaling, and even when you're ready to exit. We have experience, expertise, contacts, and resources for all of that, and love to work with people. And we also do training and workshops and things like that. So welcome, and thank you for joining me. A little bit of housekeeping before I start introductions. If you guys will keep your mics muted for me, except our guest, that will help us all have the best audio experience. And then if you have questions during the presentation, we welcome those. And if you put them in chat, we'll make sure that we get to them. So chat with us over there in the chat box. You can find that at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Just click on chat and you should have the opportunity to do that. Real quick, let's talk about two events we have coming up, because you might want to join us for those too. Heather, can you give us the dates for our next two events?
Yes, we have an event on December 10th, which is called Own Your Audience and Preparing for 2021. And on December 14th, we have two guests from the Virginia Cooperative Extension Office to talk about agriculture revenue diversification.
Awesome. So for our agriculture businesses, and then we're really excited about this Own Your Audience. We have a very special guest for that one, and a host who's going to teach you guys everything about marketing and connecting with your audience so that you can, own them and understand your target. We're super excited about that. So please join us. Find all the stuff on our website, remicksmallbusiness.org. You can sign up there. Super easy to do. So we hope to see you at those events. And most of all, if you're an entrepreneur or a small business joining us today, I just want to say thank you. I'm so grateful for our small business community, especially with the pandemic and the things that we're all struggling with, that you are specifically struggling with, not only in your businesses, but at home. So thank you for being here. And if there's anything that we can do to help you, please just reach out to us. Let us know. Shoot us a message over here in chat. Our team is on here today. We're missing one, but most of us are on here. So let me start introducing everyone, because we're just excited to get going and start this thing running. I've got Heather over here. I hope I'm pointing the right way. Depends on how you're looking at us on the screen, but Heather makes all this happen, and we so appreciate you, Heather. Thank you for coordinating all this and just being the glue for everything that we do. And then I also have Cheryl. She's on my end screen over here. I see her. She is our New River Valley advisor, and we're just so thankful to have her serving that region. And so if you're in the New River Valley, she is your woman. She knows it all. She has lots of experience in business ownership experience. And then without further ado, our guest today, so excited to have Brett Malone here with us. He is the president and CEO of the Virginia Tech Research Center, a triple Hokie, which I'm going to ask you about here in a second. And he's got 20 years of experience. And I hate to say this, but you do not know. How do you have 20 years of this? 20 years experience in growing engineering, biotech, and software businesses, and probably lots of other stuff too that we're going to learn about. But I'm going to let him talk, and so you guys don't have to listen to me the whole time. So Brett, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Amanda. This is a lot of fun, and looking forward to chatting with you. And well, the way you do it is you just know enough just to be dangerous. So know enough about a lot of little things, but it's a lot of fun, and that's really what the startup community and the small business community is. You know, you have to be involved in a lot of different things. So it's an honor and pleasure to be here, and it's great to have the participants on Zoom.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So you were just saying, and giving us a little bit of why this is important to you. You came on as the new president and CEO during the pandemic, July 1st, I think.
July 1st, yes.
What was that like?
Well, you know, honestly, I tell people I'm glad I didn't come on a year ago before the pandemic, because, you know, all the plans we're making right now have COVID baked in. So, you know, our strategy, our vision, our growth plan has the new world order already baked in. And, you know, we're factoring in ways of growing the CRC, ways of providing services. So, you know, it sound from the outside in, it sounds like that would be a risky proposition, but frankly, it's an honor to be selected. It's an honor to take over for Joe Meredith, who has built the park into just the force that it is. I mean, it's a bit overwhelming and humbling. You know, we have quite an enterprise going, and it's my job to move it forward and to grow it. So I'm excited to be here under any condition.
I love that. And you mentioned Joe Meredith, and I just want to quote something that you said recently. You can tell me if it's wrong. But my understanding is that he was a mentor to you. And so you said, he made connections that allowed me to be successful with my first startup. I've taken that initial experience, gone on the road, and built other companies and helped firms in biotech, robotics, engineering, and software. And now I want to help our companies the way Joe helped me. And then you said, that to me defines what service looks like. I love that. It makes me a little teary-eyed.
It's frozen, right? I mean, it's Virginia Tech. And I really, you know, I try to live that. And this opportunity for me really is a bit of a homecoming. You know, I did exactly what I said. It's all true. Joe helped me in the 90s when, you know, I was just getting started and as a small business trying to figure out, what do you do as a startup? You know, we were technology oriented, myself and a colleague of mine who just came out of graduate school. You know, and as an aside, a triple Hokie is just really, it's code for somebody who got all the degrees at Virginia Tech and they kicked you out. They're like, look, you're done. You've been here for 11 years. Go on, move on, do something else. Yeah. So, and that's when I started my first company, you know, and that's when I went over to the CRC in 1995 and started in one little room with a colleague of mine. And, you know, fortunately, there were two of us when we started, and a lot of times partnerships can be tricky, but for me, it was a blessing because I was really good at going on the road, exactly what I said. And, you know, my partner wrote a lot of software. Scott Woyak at Phoenix Integration, he's still running, you know, he's still part of the company, and Phoenix is still going really well. But, you know, Joe and everyone in the CRC, the whole community came together. Even back then, you know, 25 years ago, it was about the community. And it was about people, when you walk down the hallway, somebody would say, hey, you know, I know a guy at Boeing. Or, you know, Joe was fairly new in the role himself 25 years ago. And he had just came out of the Newport News shipyard. So he said, hey, I know this guy over at the shipyard. You ought to give him a call. Maybe he'd be interested. You know, 2 or 3 months later, we had a contract with the shipyard, and it was one of our first revenue generating projects. So, you know, that's what community connection mentoring really does. And, you know, I'm trying to do that as much as possible for all of our companies in the CRC now.
Well, it's such a beautiful thing about, you know, to talk about what Virginia Tech Research Center is. People are there working, they're running their businesses just like you were. And those hallway conversations and passing by other people who are there, maybe doing something completely different than you in a completely different industry, those conversations are so valuable. It's one of the things that I love about these parks and people, you know, moving their business there, starting their businesses there because of those.
Right.
I know in the building we're in, there's not a lot of people in our building, but when we're able to have those pass-by conversations with the few that are, they're always so impactful. So talking about this, tell us a little bit more about the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center. Like what is it
Sure.
that you guys do? We know you're a building, you're a park.
Sure.
What is that? Why do people care?
So we are, believe it or not, we're a campus of 36 buildings, over 220 companies. And our original mission, and one of our primary missions still today, is to help Virginia Tech have a place to translate, commercialize, create startup companies, move companies out of the lab and into the market. So we're very aligned with the Virginia Tech mission of growing research, converting research. But, you know, as you can imagine, with 36 buildings, 220 private companies, we're doing everything from robotics to software, cryptocurrency, everything over to drones, aerospace. We have some companies that have grown to the point of where they've gone public. We have some companies like Dan Sable's VPT, very successful, has his own building. And, you know, his hardware is running on the space station, is part of SpaceX equipment, the Mars rover. So we have a lot of technology-oriented companies. We're primarily focused on companies that are, you know, trying to disrupt an industry with a new technology or a new method or a new process. But the cool thing is, regardless of what these companies are doing, they're all really part of a community. We've got over 3,500 people working in the park. And that sense of community, of helping a different startup, regardless of what their technology is, that's really the secret sauce, in my opinion. So, you know, we've got beautiful buildings, we have beautiful labs, but at the end of the day, it's the people in the buildings and the community that we have that really makes it work.
So a question that I know a lot of people have had, or I know have asked me, so I'm going to ask you directly. Do you have to be from Virginia Tech, a professor, a student who's working on a project, to come into the park and be there? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, no, you don't. You know, we have access points. We have companies, large companies, industry that come in and they want to become part of the CRC. We have individuals who want to come in and become part of the park. And one of the best ways, the entry points, is our co-working space. So we have a co-working space. Cheryl's in it, so she knows very well. But CoGrow is a place where we actually are working to foster more of that community. So if you're an individual, if you're looking for some shared space, if you're looking to rent a single office and have all the amenities taken care of for you, like a nice kitchen, you know, that's one of those places where small businesses who are just getting started, it's a great entry point into the park. And, you know, you don't have to be associated with Virginia Tech to be part of that.
So tell us a little bit more about CoGrow. It is a co-working space that people can come into and work, which is, I mean, you guys have got to know this. It's so much more productive than being at home and working in your lonely space. You get out with other people. But when did that start? How is that going? I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Well, the CRC launched it officially about a year ago. And to date now we have 30 members. So in my opinion, it's going quite well. And, you know, the dynamic that I think it was a hypothesis that's proven true, but, you know, the dynamic was, can we create more of a flexible working space where people can come in and rent, maybe just rent a desk or just have access as a membership to a floating space. In some cases, we have companies that rent a full office inside of CoGrow, but it's a lot more flexible way to provide access membership. We can go on month to month. So even if people are coming into town for a special project and they want a hotel for a period of time, it's a great resource for that. And, you know, this is part of the CRC expanding and exploring different models. We think this is, you know, the way that people are going to want to work in the future. So we're trying to adapt our model to that.
And so, and I know because Cheryl's there and she loves it and loves working with the companies that are there. You also have programming in place, right? Like, it's not just space, but there's things going on within the whole park. But specifically, I know CoGrow is driving a lot of that. Yeah,
we partner regionally with, you know, all of the supporting agencies and the supporting organizations. You know, RBTC in Vic and Ramp, I mean, all of the supporting community, we are part of that ecosystem. So in some cases where we can host events, we do that. In some cases where we can bring in special webinar events, we're trying to provide access to that. And, frankly, the good news is even some of the national programming opportunities have all gone virtual. So we have a program within the CRC that's working to connect our companies to the appropriate virtual events.
I love that. I love it. I've watched from afar, but just so proud of the work that's being done there and the opportunities for entrepreneurs to come in and get involved in that. I think it's so important for our region. So out of all of that, tell me what the biggest challenge has been since your July 1st start date. Like what's been most challenging? It's got to all be challenging, particularly because of the pandemic, but like what's the biggest kind of challenge that you're having to forge through then or even now?
Right. Well, I mean, one of the disappointments I would say is I just can't get out into the community as much as I'd like. You walk the hall, there's more people are working from home, obviously, so we're just not getting as much face time, which I think is incredibly valuable. But we're adapting, and some of the other challenges is just trying to make sure that the park is safe, and so we're ramping up everything we can do to protect our tenants who are in the park. We're fortunate that we haven't had any significant upticks, so we're very diligent about that. But honestly, it's no different than any other venture, any other startup. You have to really think about the right focus for us to grow. And the team internally has been fantastic. We have a great supporting staff that really takes a lot of pride in the park, and that's made this transition so easy. And we're focusing on what does the next 5 years look like.
I love that. So with that, what do the next 5 years look like? Or more importantly, like what big plans do you have up your sleeve? Everyone that comes into an organization new, you spend some time getting to know it, but then you've got big plans, up your sleeve. What are those, or what direction are you heading?
Well, we're really looking to expand. So one thing that I feel strongly about is having the CRC have more of a statewide footprint. So we have an operation in Newport News called Tech Center, and we're seeing really interesting opportunities emerge through our relationship with NASA Langley and and Jefferson National Lab. So that location, in my opinion, is so critical. And as you know, Virginia Tech is making huge investments in Northern Virginia with the Innovation Campus. So our role the role of the CRC really is at that intersection point between the university research, small companies, startup companies, small businesses. So, as the university moves forward with its footprint in Northern Virginia, we want to support that. And so a Northern Virginia strategy is important for me. And the way we're doing that is so that it complements Blacksburg. We're not just going off and creating another part of the enterprise that's not connected. So for me, anything we do in another region has to complement and actually bring resources, supporting people, talent, money back into our own region right here.
I think that's so important, and I hope you guys are on the call. I almost want to ask you to repeat that again, because it's, we have this conversation a lot with people like, oh, why is everything going in Northern Virginia? Northern Virginia is so important, but to understand it is important for us too. And can you repeat that again? Like, what is the benefit of paying so much attention and really making that connection?
Well, and I'll say it a little bit differently. We have a lot of companies in the CRC that do business with, for example, federal agencies, sponsored research, defense contractors, and a lot of them have big footprints in Northern Virginia. And their program management, their people, the agency sponsors, they're there. So, but Blacksburg, the New River Valley, Roanoke region, Southwest Virginia, we've got great strengths in terms of talent, quality of life, and people want to be here. And so what we're seeing, obviously, is the technical talent, the student talent, people who appreciate this environment. They want to be here, and we grow companies successfully here. But for the kind of talent in Northern Virginia and the connection to the agencies, it's important also to have a footprint there. So, what I'm thinking and the way we're developing the strategy is to support opportunities for companies in Blacksburg, New River Valley, to be able to connect to Northern Virginia more easily. So if we look at the co-grow model, it's easy access. So we may have co-working space in Northern Virginia so that our CRC tenants in Blacksburg have a place to be when they're up there. They can say, we have an office in Northern Virginia. And so, those kind of benefits help the people that are in our ecosystem now. And that's really, in my mind, one of the key points of doing this.
That's fantastic, particularly with the federal contracting. It's little known that it's really on the East Coast in Northern Virginia that's happening. That's where the agencies are, and you really have to be there in some cases, not full time, but you have to have connections there. And I think it's important that we're all working with those so that our people have access to that. You don't have to move to have that. You have access to it here.
Yeah, and even raising capital. Small companies that are starting businesses, raising capital, if they can. If they start up in Blacksburg, but they can quickly say they have a footprint, they have an office in Northern Virginia, and if it's closer to the money, which is a reality of raising money, it helps them. And there's no reason they can't stay here, but also, have a footprint and connectivity in other regions.
That's fantastic. It's such a good point, especially if we have any entrepreneurs that are here this morning that are thinking, their wheels are turning right now as you say that. So I love it. I want to stop. We like to keep this under 30 minutes. It's 10:22 right now, and I see some questions in the chat box that look pretty good. So I'd like to leave just a little bit of time before we wrap up. I think Heather's going to read those to us and see if we can get some of these answered.
Excellent. So we have a question from Jill. Brett, what has been your greatest challenge at the CRC so far?
Well, I see it more as opportunity, but not being able to engage directly with as many of the companies as I'd like. I'm trying to make a concerted effort to connect with all the owners and really get in touch with as many companies as possible. As you could imagine, this is, in my view, this is an ambassadorship role. So I'm a brand ambassador for all 220 companies in our park. And so, we're working hard not only to understand what their needs are, but what resources can I go out on the road and bring back to help them out? And, I wouldn't call it a challenge. It's just, making that job of being an ambassador a little bit more difficult, but, it's no different than what everyone else is going through. So we're making it work.
Excellent. Thank you, Brett. I've got one other question from Jill. Have you learned anything surprising or unexpected in your new role?
Well, I'm not surprised, and it's not unexpected, but it's pleasantly reinforced just how much pride there is in the park, how much pride there is, first of all, just walking in to the CRC staff. We've got people that have been here for a long time. They've built, they remember when the park was 10 buildings, 8 buildings, and now it's 36 buildings, and we've got a phase 2. And so, the pride that people have within the park, the sense of community and pride that all of the business owners in the park have, but also, pleasantly surprised at how much opportunity there is where people want to keep growing the park. So, our association with Virginia Tech, our role in the ecosystem is such that people really want to see the park succeed and grow. And so every time I go out and reach out to another organization or a group, it's just been met with cooperation, and I'm glad to see that.
That's huge. Okay, I've got a couple comments. One from Angela. She states that a new Toastmasters club was started last year in the CRC, and club members come from various companies in the CRC. David,
Toastmasters.
What'd you say?
Big proponent of Toastmasters. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. David shared loving the chocolate chip cookies and co-grow. Keep it coming, Brett.
Thank you, David. Yeah. Well, don't thank me. Thank Andrea. We've got a fantastic. Our administrator who runs co-grow is entirely service oriented, and our whole staff really is. I think about the service-oriented part of this job, we really want to provide the experience, you know, and as an aside, when we talk about the chocolate chip cookies are just one tiny piece of the overall experience. You know, we take to heart the whole experience in the park. So our aesthetics, you know, keeping things looking nice, you know, having our facilities, having the gym open and at the same time safe for people who want to work out. You know, we see this, especially for some of the companies that we have that work so hard and they are so deep into some of the science. You know, we've got people doing quantum computing. We've got people doing, you know, everything from software to robotics. And, you know, it's our job to just give them as much opportunity to focus on their mission and make it a pleasant experience. So we take that to heart. We take it seriously.
You know what else I love about chocolate chip cookies? I'm fascinated with the psychology around co-working spaces, first of all. Fascinated with it and study it a lot. And the chocolate chip cookies, what they do in addition to being a great experience is create networking opportunities for the people who are there, who might not otherwise talk or have, you know, have the umph to go out and meet someone on their own, but they're getting the chocolate chip cookies at the same time, right? Yeah. You're bringing them together. And so I love that. That's really cool.
Well, you know, one thing that you talked about some of my experiences. So I was fortunate enough to work at a Google Ventures backed company in San Francisco. And, you know, we were in the Google Life Sciences building. And, you know, out there, the whole ecosystem is micro kitchens and food. And, you know, you could probably survive a whole year inside of one of those buildings. I mean, they've got the gym, they've got the kitchens, the free food 24/7. But, you know, what they do have also is these mixing areas, these common areas and it's just like being at home. People come together around the kitchen. They come together around food. And, you know, you go out and you're on a walk and talk meeting where you make a cup of coffee, you get a snack and you sit there in front of the kitchen and talk for a few minutes. And, you know, that's as important as a nice meeting area or a nice office cubicle space.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have another comment from Cody. He has shared that CoGrow has been such a blessing for his business. And then we have a follow-up question from John. Brett, what are some of the key things you hope to complete in the next year?
Well, you know, we're really thinking about expanding the amenities in the park. So providing more options for food, coffee, experience. So we're trying to do that within the safety guidelines of COVID, obviously. We're also working really hard to build more bridges to outside industry so that we are launching and we have successfully connected companies through what we're calling a concierge service, where we're being more proactive of going out into the community and talking to big, you know, large industry like Raytheon or BAE. And we're inviting them to come into the park and get to understand the companies in the park and ways they can partner with them. So we're trying to provide opportunity to companies in the park to outside business development. So, you know, we're, as part of that brand ambassadorship for all of our companies, we're trying to organize and lead that. And we're seeing some good success there. And then, you know, within the next year, we're really mapping out our Northern Virginia strategy, and we're actually growing and connecting Newport News in new ways. So exciting thing too, NASA just invited our Newport News division of the CRC to lead their entrepreneur program. And so NASA, we are funded and sponsored by NASA to help them grow some of the startups that come out of the crazy technology that NASA develops. So it's pretty exciting times.
That's fun. Let me pause just for a moment. It's 10:30, which is usually when we end. We have a couple more really good questions in chat. So if you need to hop off, feel free. There's no judgment. But if you have a couple minutes to stay on with us, we're going to ask these last couple questions here.
Super. Thank you, Amanda. Okay, the next question is from Angela, Brett. She is asking, are there any diversity, equality, and inclusion initiatives planned for the CRC as we see so much about that in our world right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we continue to remain open. We continue to remain aligned very much with Virginia Tech and its mission to bring all opportunities to the table. And we're no different. We feel strongly about creating opportunity, and we're seeing a lot of that. And as you can imagine, in a co-working space, especially like CoGrow, there's tremendous opportunity. So we're welcoming of that. And we stay aligned with the university mission and everything it drives towards in terms of its progressive goals.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brett. Okay, our next question is from Jill. Brett, how do you see partnerships evolving outside of the geographic boundary of the CRC? Jill states, we have enjoyed years of interaction with Joe Meredith and have had many discussions of the CRC role and the engagement of the Roanoke region. I hope that continues and expands.
Yeah, well, outside the region, so developing partnerships outside the region is important because making that connection to some of our small companies so that they have partnering opportunities, that's important. But also, bringing a large company, one of the things, to go all the way back to one of the other questions, what's surprising to me is very few people know about what we do at the CRC. And so that's become part of, I've spent a lot more energy on that than I would have thought I needed to. And that's not a bad thing. I just think it's important. And so companies in Northern Virginia who are very closely aligned with Virginia Tech still don't understand the opportunities that exist within the walls of the CRC. And so we're bringing those walls down. We're becoming more transparent. We're creating opportunities for our companies to engage with the big companies like the Raytheons, the Lockheeds, the Boeings. And at the same time, that benefits those companies as well because they have a reason to want to be here. So, whether they come here and build a building and staff it, or whether they become virtual partners, virtual tenants, or whether they become part of our enterprise in Northern Virginia, all of those help our existing tenants, and that's most important for me. And I would add, we haven't talked much about Roanoke, but I'm actively engaged in talking with the folks at Fralin. Roanoke has a tremendous amount of opportunity. I just have a lot of respect for what Mike Freelander is doing there and everything to drive innovation. And, if there's not an organization on the downstream side of all of that work, we're going to miss the opportunity to create more small businesses in Roanoke. And so we're actively engaged at looking at ways we can support Roanoke and especially the startup community, and as it aligns with Virginia Tech, Carillion, and the Fralin Institute.
Fantastic. We're really excited about you and I talked about that before we went on, really excited about those opportunities and seeing that continue to build here in the Roanoke area and just kind of branch out from the Blacksburg area. It's just really cool to watch. So we'll end right here. There's a couple things that I want to say before we give a cheers and head off about our days. If I can just, when Angela asked about the diversity, equality, inclusion initiatives, I'll also mention from the SBC if we potentially could partner and offer a speaker for that, and so that there could be, in relation to not only what the CRC is doing, but the businesses inside CRC, right? It's training them and having an understanding. So maybe that's something we can partner on. We can talk about that later. Angela, I really appreciate you bringing that up. And then lastly, guys, we are hiring. I don't do a lot of self-promotion here, but I want to promote that we are hiring and expanding our team, particularly to support businesses during this time of the pandemic. And so you can find some positions over on our website, and we are going to be adding more in the coming week. Most of them are part-time, so they're great for self-employed individuals or those who are just working on or want to take on some additional work right now. We know there's a lot of you guys out there, so I wanted to mention that. We're hiring in finance, marketing. We are hiring ambassadors for Black-owned businesses. So there are just lots of ways that you can get involved, even in contract advisor roles. So head over to our website, take a look at those. And as we head off about our days and our weekends and the Thanksgiving week coming up, I give everyone a cheers. You guys have your mugs nearby?
Yeah.
Cheers, everyone.
Right.
Thank you so much, Brett, for being on with us today. I so appreciate you. Thank you to everyone who joined us. We are going to post this on YouTube and all of our social media channels. You can find us at RRSBDC on Facebook and Instagram. And we'll make sure that Brett has a copy of this. And if you guys continue to have questions, post them there on our social media channels, and we will make sure that we get them to Brett and we get an answer for you guys. We'll be watching out that over the weekend. So later today, check us out there. Thank you guys so much for joining. Have a fantastic Thanksgiving, and some of you guys I won't see until next year. So Happy New Year, and I'll see you in January.
Thanks, Amanda.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.